I got stuff for you.
Holy moly. I need to get some snakes and release them around my house.
But they love eating people. They love eating kids.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
Every day that you open your mouth,
I know, right?
I'm more convinced that you're abducted by aliens.
No.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
These are idiots.
I was laughing reading this because I already knew how you would feel.
Idiot. What part of the story fits your balloon?
Well,
This isn't a UFO. But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Well, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
Well, everyone, I think we know exactly what it is. So say it all with me. It was the sandhill crane.
Would you try it?
No.
You wouldn't eat it?
No.
Why?
Because they're probably toxic. There'd be a lot of poop in my pants. Seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree. Welcome back to Cryptids of the Corn podcast. I'm the great and powerful mystery.
And I'm J Clone 35 with wandering eyes trying to see the notes on your phone.
Trying to cheat.
I tried.
We're coming with you. We're coming from you. We're coming at you at Ronald McDonald House. You know.
Part 2.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a whole bunch of episodes. We're recording, I think, 3 weeks worth of stuff today.
Yikes.
So you're going to be hearing from here because we're going to be up here for a while. So today's episode had a funny story with it. But first, we're going to go down to the fire swamps. We're going to look for some R.U.S.
Some what?
R.U.S.
R.U.S?
Mm-hmm.
What's a R.U.S?
Rodents of unusual size. The Princess Bride.
Oh.
Huh? Yeah, R.U.S. R.O.U.S. I have it pulled up.
Rodents of unusual size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, the
Princess Bride.
like the hyper sand.
So, yeah.
Is that what it was called? Something
I wanted to do a kaiju episode today.
Oh.
And we talk about some of the episodes. Research.
That's the Japanese.
Giant monsters.
Yeah.
So, some of the episodes we talk about, I research, and it ends up being something else completely.
Yeah.
This is one.
Okay, so what did it start out supposed to be?
I was looking for giant monster sightings, like kaiju.
Okay.
Like Godzilla walking around and stuff like that.
Right.
And it ended up being this.
They got the rodents of unusual size.
So the first article we're going to use is Attack of the Bloodthirsty Giant Rats. And we're going to talk a lot about rats. You remember Lady and the Tramp?
The cartoon movie? The Disney one?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the movie where they were eating the spaghetti?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
So
it's been a long time.
You may not have realized how dark it was. But when she got thrown out of the house, it was because she killed the baby.
Oh.
But it wasn't her. It was a rat had gotten in there and killed the baby. And she had attacked the rat.
Oh.
So the rat had gotten out and she got stuck with the dog.
Yeah.
So at that time, and still into modern day, rats can be quite deadly to humans.
Oh, yeah. They're disgusting.
Yeah. And there's this whole thing with bile and stuff like that. So there are a few creatures on the planet that invokes and incite such revulsion, dread, and disdain as rats. Now, I'm not talking like a pet rat is a whole kind of different thing.
No, we're talking like the sewer rats, the street rats you see in New York and Chicago.
These little devils managed to worm, and I'll tell you my Chicago story on here. These little devils managed to worm their way into almost every place they can manage to inhabit. They have been in many skin-crawling little abominations that instill such fear and terror. Luckily, they're small, right? And they aren't aggressive, right? Just creepy little disease vectors. Well, you're wrong. Oh. In case of modern accounts are to be believed, these rats seem to be not only getting significantly bigger and bigger, but their usual garbage scraps aren't going to cut it anymore. They're becoming much more aggressive and maybe even
more food.
Cannibalizing each other and hunting cats.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them chew their own arms off and stuff like that. Yeah.
So from all over the world, there are reported tons and tons of reports of rats, not only far larger than they're supposed to be, but also very meaner and in many cases deadlier. These are accounts that read like something straight out of a horror movie and show that there are perhaps not just a small, cowardly denizens of the shadows that we have long thought them to be. So what's the biggest rat you think you've ever seen?
In person?
Yeah. Or just...
No, I mean, because I got a story.
Do you?
When we were little kids, in our barn, we had I don't know if it was a rat infestation, we had rats and mice real bad one summer. And I remember my dad laying out, the mouse traps, the wooden ones, but then you got the big rat traps.
That's like on a 2x4 almost.
Yeah, and we had those sitting around. And Dad's like, "Why don't you go back around the barn and check the traps?" And I'm like, "All right." So and this was a little kid. I wasn't really grossed out by things yet. Like things were just a rat. But I went back there. Not only did the one rat trap catch one, didn't catch two. We had one rat trap that snapped down on 3 rats, and they were big, well, probably now I think of them when I was a little kid. Now I was like, oh, it's like the size of a foot long Subway sub, like they were that big. But as a kid, I mean, everything would probably just look bigger.
Inflated, yeah.
But it was 3 rats in one of those giant traps. I don't know how they all 3 fit in there, but somehow this thing slammed on all 3 of them.
Got them.
Insane. But they were all gross, like there's maggots eating them and stuff. When I found it, now looking back, it's disgusting.
Lovely story.
But when I found it back then, I was like, oh, Dad, check this out. It's pretty amazing. But they were big. Those are probably the biggest rats I've ever seen.
One area that has been plagued by giant rats in recent years is the UK. And they have been proven to be quite massive indeed.
Yuck. Didn't the rats and the mice spread the plague?
Yeah.
Or is that one of the theories at least?
I think it was actually, no, I can't remember what it's called. I think it was a marmot. Because there was like the most traded fur at the time.
Ooh, marmot fur.
The fleas were in there because it's transmitted by fleas.
That's right, yeah.
And then fur-bearing animals are carriers.
Right.
Vectors. These have been proven to be quite massive indeed. One report from April of 2016 was made by a pest controller, Lord Dean Burr, who claims to have come across a roving pack of 6 rats, measuring an estimated 2 foot long on average, during his routine inspection of his posh housing estate in Tooting, Lord, London.
Does that include the tail?
See, we'll get there.
Okay.
They are by far the biggest rats Burr has ever seen in his 15 years of being an exterminator. And this is the spectacular that it's also been speculated it's possibly gotten so large because these ruthless animals are cannibalizing smaller rats. So he's starting to see that there are less rats, but the rats that are there are getting
bigger.
Massive.
Yeah.
All efforts to trap these animals have failed. They are apparently simply too large to be affected by such pathetic measures. Burr said these enormous rats have been found haunting his estate. They are big, a foot or 2 long, and that's the size of a cat. Rats will eat mice. They will eat each other. They will eat anything that lives, and when they die. So it's possible that these rats got so big by attacking and eating smaller rats. These are the biggest I've ever seen in my life. I wouldn't be in the corner. I wouldn't want to corner one and be face to face. They will fight and they will bite and they will defend them if they will defend themselves if they have to. It is a serious issue, and they're getting bigger and bigger every year. And there's actually, you can look up a picture of him holding, I think, a 3.5 pound rat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Another report from a similar stomach churning huge rat in the UK comes from Poole, Dorset. While there in January of 2017, exterminator Terry Walker claimed to have captured a rat measuring 19 inches long, also as big as a cat, while inspecting an upscale resort community called Sandbanks. That's where the Sundown Clown goes.
Sunbanks?
Mm-hmm.
That's
where he goes for the summers.
Oh, okay. So it is a joke. Like, what are you talking about?
Walker also claimed that he had seen other uncomfortably large rats lurking and measuring around 16 inches or so in length. But this one was larger, the largest one he's ever seen in his entire 20 years of experience as an exterminator, saying.
The Rat King.
Well, we'll get to rat kings.
Okay.
You wouldn't struggle to find a pest controller who has found a bigger one. I'm on the professional forums, and most of the world agrees that the biggest ones from the whole UK, it's the biggest I've ever caught. Walker claims that the rats have been getting steadily bigger and bigger in recent years, possibly because they have mutated or become resilient to rat poisonings, and partially because the ample food source is freely available to them.
Mm-hmm.
As a 19-inch and 2-foot-long rats weren't already quite spookily large enough, there's also the March 2016 report from London of the bigger than a small child.
That's big. That's a big rat.
whose dead body was allegedly found laying in some bushes near the railway tracks in the area of Huckenby Downs by gas engineer Tony Smith. A truly gigantic rat was claimed to be a whopping 4 foot in length.
Again, does that include the tail? It has to.
That one, I think, includes the tail. The other two from the pictures, I don't think they were measuring the tail. There is no physical evidence of this to find. He did take a photo of it with his friend James Green. Smith said it was creepy and unsettling discovery. Here's what he says. This is the largest rat I've ever seen in my entire life. I've got a cat and a Jack Russell, and it was bigger than both of them put together.
Yeah.
I'd say it was about 4 foot long. We were going to stick it in a bin, but before we did, we thought we better take a picture of it or people won't believe it. Yeah.
Did he take a picture?
Yeah.
Or is it just not a good... Doesn't really show scale that well
Yeah,
either.
it's in claws, so that's definitely with the tail. It is an absolutely massive rat.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell from that picture.
It's so gross.
Oh, it gets
Why are
worse.
But rats are just disgusting to look at. I don't know, something about them. They're not even like they're just gross. I guess
it's because they're us, right?
What do you mean?
Rats, cockroaches, and humans are the only animal that is found on all 7 continents right now.
Oh, okay.
Rats crossed every ocean with us, stayed in every ship, went into every home. Rats are a part of human history. And now there's forest rats.
It's our shadow.
There's woodland rats and meadow rats and that kind of stuff. The wild rats that aren't, that haven't evolved or adapted to live in human conditions.
And there's rat-a-tat-tat.
And when you see those guys, they don't have the same, I guess, feel. When you see a meadow rat or something like that, it feels like, an animal, right?
Yeah.
When you see these guys, you feel much more like past disease and that kind of stuff.
When they're in like your home or...
But it's a byproduct of our existence.
Right.
They exist.
Right. They're our shadow.
Yeah. So it's a weird thing.
It's a reflection of your life. If you got rats around, you got rats inside.
So such giant rats have been reported from all areas of the UK as well. And according to some of these reports, they have been proven to not only be uncommonly large, but also very nastily aggressive. One such location has been seemingly under terrorization by vicious giant rats. The British city of Chester it's the British city of Chester in Cheshire, England.
Okay.
And it was from my brain disability. It was very hard to have both words back to back.
Yeah.
Which is also Britain's oldest Roman city, and it's renowned for its surrounding sandstone walls, which were built in 70 AD to deter attacks from the Welsh people. I think were they the ones that originally lived there?
The Welsh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because the Romans went up there. I mean...
Gosh, yeah, I don't know.
That's why all those, I don't know a lot about the UK.
Yeah, I don't know the history that well.
In recent years, uncommonly large rats reportedly measuring up to 15 inches or more have been meandering around, menacing people in the suburb of Barton. And in one report from December of 1026.
Okay.
1,000 years ago.
Right. Just about.
A family's pet terrier was viciously mauled to death by an oversized rat and carried away.
No.
You imagine seeing a rat big enough, it attacks your dog.
And kills it.
And carries it off.
That'd suck. That would suck to watch.
Back to the present. Other residents have reported even larger rats jumping into their trash bins or shadows and lashing out at people, like literally chasing people. Like they'll come running out of the... I have stories. I'll share my Chicago stories later.
Okay.
It happens. I don't care what anybody says. I will never
you.
believe a cottonmouth chase somebody or a copperhead chase somebody.
Yeah.
A rat chasing you? I 100% believe.
Yeah.
I was 20, 30 feet from a rat, and it came barreling at me for no reason.
He's going to take you out.
Yeah. I had a backpack shocker. Didn't go good for him.
Did you shock it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
I swear.
No, you didn't.
He was trying to bite me.
You shocked a rat? I mean, I'm not upset about it.
We were in a sewer discharge, and it was full of rats.
You were in the sewer already. I was just in my head. You were like just standing on the street getting ready for something.
No, I was in the river.
Yeah. Okay.
And
they
were swimming at me to bite me.
I would have shocked it too.
We'll tell the stories at the end. Okay. So the council city has been mulling over releasing feral cats, which is not going to work. I'll just tell you right now.
Feral cats don't kill giant feral rats. It's just a rule.
Over the quaint cobblestone streets to combat the problem, But other residents say that even cats are deadly afraid of these beasts because these rats started eating cats. You know what they really need to release?
Saber-tooths?
Muscovy ducks.
Oh, genetically modified giant Muscovy ducks.
They're fine the way they are.
Oh.
They would literally be carrying a 3-pound rat. There'd be 2 of them dragging it away. Another community says that has been terrorized by giant rats is the Bed Zed Eco Community in Huckbridge, Surrey. A green housing community dedicated to carbon neutral development and zero carbon emissions.
Wow.
Residents claim that, it didn't work good for them. Residents claim they've been infested by gigantic rats, the smallest one measuring 10 inches and up, which is a big rat.
That's big, yeah.
When I've had big snakes and turtles and stuff like that, a 10-inch rat happens.
Any particular reason why it was infested, or?
I'm going to assume it's because they weren't using conventional pesticides and that kind of stuff.
Well, pesticides, but where was this again?
Sorry, it's Bed Zed Eco Community in Huckbridge, Surrey, which is England, UK.
Oh,
Sorry,
it's
UK.
Okay. Still England, okay.
The huge rats themselves showed up and incredibly bold and aggressive to the point where some people were afraid to even go out at night. One resident, Edid Ladid, whatever his name is. You people in the UK, your names. We have a lot of UK listeners. Love you guys. But you got to work on some of these names. Says, I'm scared to even take my bin out now. For all of us Americans, that's trash can. They jump out at you as you open the bins to throw the rubbish away. I've even taken my rubbish out to the bin in the street because the rats are not afraid to come close to you.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe rats are scary. They have a wicked bite.
I would never want to get bit by one. That would be awful.
One frightening account of a rat attack comes from Plymouth, Devon, from the September of 2015, where reports of the rat the size of a small dog were actively going after trash collectors out on their routes. The rats have been described as being at least 2 feet long and extremely fearless, bad-tempered, and one trash collector, a 34-year-old man named Ben, saying that he had to take cover and fight back when one of the beasts attacked him opening a bin.
Man, that's all garbage men should carry a 5-iron with them.
Most of them do, I think.
I would.
That or a tire iron.
Tire iron, 5-iron, a billy club.
Never hit somebody with a tire iron, but I know it would suck.
Yeah, it would suck. A shillelagh.
A shillelagh, yeah. He would say of this terrifying encounter, when I was attacked by it was a terrifying experience. The rat was aggressive and huge. I tried to shoo it off at first, but the rat did not back down at all. It had its teeth out and stood its ground like an alpha male whose territory had been invaded. I am used to rats, as you see in so many in my job. I deal with rubbish after all, and I have always been okay with them. But I know they are not afraid of us anymore, and that does worry me. At least one is over a foot long, I reckon. It's huge, but I have seen its size and possibly even bigger ones in the last couple months. They are definitely getting bigger, and they are definitely getting bolder. They are not as afraid of us as they used to be. I got chased by one. So this is a guy that collects trash.
Yeah.
Ben was reportedly able to scare off the brutish, massive rat with a huge brick he started hurling at it. So it wasn't, as soon as he started throwing the brick,
They're like, go right. This guy's psycho. When I was a little kid, this just reminded me of it. We used to get like these, I don't know what they were like. They were magazines, but in the back, they always had these like weird advertisements for toys and stuff you can order. And one of them was an advertisement for a toy called the rubber brick. It was like, here's the rubber brick. Fool your friends into thinking you're throwing a real brick at them. So it was just a cartoon picture of a guy in the back of the magazine getting ready to hurl a brick at his friend, but the brick was just rubber. So what a wonderful toy.
That's a TikTok thing right now.
It's rubber bricks?
With cinder blocks. Like people on trampolines, like in the trampoline parks and stuff like that, and then their buddy will throw
a cinder block.
It's foam.
Oh, okay.
It's foam,
gotcha.
But they freak out for a second because it looks really real.
Looks real, yeah. I think that's how the rubber brick was supposed to be. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they still make those though. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say probably not. I just thought it was funny. Fool your friends is what it said. So like, you're just running around pretending like, or even actually like you're going to throw a brick at somebody. I don't know. Him throwing bricks at the rats made me think of that.
Possibly even more disturbing account reports from July of 2016, which a couple living in a rented unit in Alberstadt hunts in the English countryside of Hampshire claimed that their baby was attacked and mutilated by a giant rat. The infant was rushed to the emergency room and did not suffer any life-threatening injuries, but it was cleared of any rat-borne diseases. But there were disfigurements on the infant.
Yeah.
The area, as in many other places throughout the country, has recent years seen an outbreak of extremely large rats described as 2 to 3 foot long. And these two have been speculated to becoming a result of mutations allowing resistance to common rat poisons, which in theory would back up the genetic testing done by Huddersfield University on rats across the nation. One in Shannon Foster, chief examiner of the British Pest Control Association, has said that there's a rise in such reports of giant rats across England. Here's what she has to say. Reports of poison-resistant rats have been increasing in recent years, and it seems likely that they'd be getting further surges in numbers. The trouble is that people who try to treat the problem themselves are likely only making the problem worse. The rodents have become resistant, and in some cases are immune to off-the-shelf poisons, to the point where they're actually feeding off the toxic pellets, which means that their size and strength is increasing. Normal rats are being killed off by the poison, and these resistant species taking over in their place.
Like giving them steroids.
Well, it's like she's saying, it's killing off their competition, too.
Exactly, yeah.
Stronger rodenticides can be more effective, but most of the subject is strictly to legalization and must only be used by professional pest controllers. So that's what her saying is, like, there probably is. There's a genetic study going out that there is a new species of rat that's showing up in these areas. They're really resistant to the store-bought stuff, which makes sense. It's not nearly as strong as what a pest controller can get.
Right.
A licensed professional. And if you're using that, you're making the problem worse because you're killing off the rats that are keeping their numbers in check.
Right, yeah, their competition.
Yeah.
So you're just leaving the big baddies
and
running
then
around.
You have this 2-pound rat that's just eating the poison pellets that's staring at you.
Is it getting stronger from them?
Getting bigger as
nutrients.
The Hulk over here.
Yeah, literal. Yeah, same thing.
Despite the outbreak of reports and such scary huge rats in the UK, there's been speculation that these creatures aren't really quite as big as have been claimed. And it has been said that the cases could be a result of fear and exaggeration, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Happens in a lot of the, especially a big rat.
Yeah, but until you see that photo of that guy holding that one, that's a giant rat.
Yeah, but, he also said, he said it was 3 foot long.
3 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he said 4.
So I don't know if it was quite that big. It was, don't get me wrong.
Big.
A rat that would hurt you if it bit you. But yeah. In the case of the 4-foot rat photo, that's been widely being accused of a hoax. One of the main problems is that the Norway rat found in Britain typically only gets to be 6 to 8 inches, with very uncommon specimens being 10 to 12 inches, like we talked about. That's the feeder rats we all use in the reptile trade.
Feed the snakes.
Yeah. So that's how I said. You can find 10-inch rats and stuff like that.
Right.
It's just, they're really old.
Right.
It is also possible that they really get up to 2 foot long. One British rat expert, a professor of ecology at University of Greenwich, has been very skeptical, and he said that the spectacular reports of these giant rats. All wild rats in England are Norway rats. I accept that they may find very well-fed and mature animals that are in their upper limits of size, but these are certainly not going to reach 2 stones. They are rodents in the tropics, such as cane rats, that get that big. But there's no way a Norway rat will get that big.
Okay.
Hold on to that. We'll come back to that later.
Oh, put a pin in it. Norway rats.
Tropics is what I meant to say, not tropics.
Oh.
I was thinking of troposphere. Or tropic levels.
Gotcha.
The UK is not the only place with allegedly under apparent invasion from these enormous rats. Some of these unsettling allegation accounts of giant rats attacks originate from South Africa. But so before I continue on to the African attacks, what do you got to say about the UK?
The rat problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they should do to qualm this epidemic of rat infestation is they should start collecting them like they did in the streets of New York, skin them, start barbecuing them up, and you know it'll make them taste absolutely delicious. A little pinch of Bigfoot breath.
There you go.
From Flavors of the Forest.
Flavors of the Forest. I'll play the ad in a minute. We're not quite there.
Oh. But yeah, that's what they should do with their rat problem. That's the one way to solve it.
You know what's funny is
eat them.
We'll come back to New York because the New York rat problem right now is probably the worst in the
Gross.
world.
Did you see those videos of them actually?
We'll talk about it.
They're frying them up on the street.
Well, do you know during the Great Depression, rats got scarce
Because they were eating them all?
Yeah. And a lot of cultures eat them and stuff. Like, I'm not, you eat them, whatever, cook them. If you want to, it's not something I'll eat.
No.
I mean, if I'm starving, that's a whole
Different story.
different game. Rat is much higher on that list once you're hungry.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll eat a rat before I eat a dog.
You would?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
don't like rats. I like dogs.
Yeah, but that's what... But I feel like safer eating a dog, I guess. Like, all right.
If you cook it, you're fine.
Yeah, I know, but still, like, even still the rat. It's just
I would
like,
burn it.
I would
don't. Guinea pig would be first. So Africa, where roving rats have been reported by startling citizens growing up to 3 foot long, possessing wicked teeth up to 1 inch long, exposed. In one case reported by the Daily Mail, that had some other publications as well. In December of 2016, a 3-month-old baby girl was supposedly brutally attacked and killed by a giant rat in Ketahong Township in Johnsonsburg, South Africa, while her mother was out with friends. According to the witness, the child had been horribly maimed and partially eaten, with her tongue, eyes, fingers, and all completely gnawed off, as well as exhibiting horrific bites marks all over her body. The girl's sister was unharmed in the attack, and the mother was allegedly arrested for child neglect.
Wow.
I want to make this clear. This happened a lot for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of human kids were killed by rats in this way.
Bad.
Like we mentioned earlier, Lady and the Tramp. That was like I can't remember if the baby died or if the baby was severely injured from the rat.
Well, if it's Disney,
but the dog
probably died.
Yeah, the dog got blamed because the dog was in there fighting this giant rat.
Right, yeah.
And she was, I don't know, some kind of little terrier. Another, or also from South Africa, was a tragic 2011 case of a 3-year-old. Okay, once again, I don't read names well. Luthenia Dewanda.
Okay.
So I think Dewanda is right.
We'll go with that.
Luthenia.
Let's just stick with the Dewanda.
Who lived with her family in a shack in the, now here's one, the Karhalit Sharai district outside of the Cape Town. According to the news reports, Luthenia was sleeping on the floor next to her parents when she was killed and eaten by a humongous rat, which devoured much of her body, gouging out her eyes first.
Oh my gosh.
There are also reports of an infant being killed by rats in the town of Sutuo, near Johnsonsburg, the first town we talked about. And a 77-year-old woman named Nemonathababi Joye, who was also promptly savagely killed and eaten by large rats in her town near Cape Town. In this case, the rats apparently chewed off her entire right side of the woman's face. In most of these cases, the culprit is believed to be perhaps a giant African pouched rat. I've seen these. A very large species of rat native to parts of Africa. Although these have been become so extremely predatory is unexplained. They're normally pretty friendly, and they're kept as pets, like out of the wild.
They're pouch rats?
Yeah, they're huge. Like here's a picture.
They have pouches?
Yeah, it's pseudo pouch. It's not like a kangaroo pouch.
You say, oh wow, they are big.
And they're normally extremely docile, and they're normally herbivores.
Yeah,
or more. They're omnivores, but they're more herbivorous than carnivorous.
Okay.
So, saying that they fit the right size,
but not the right behavior.
Character.
Yeah.
And like I've said, rats have killed human infants forever. You guys, a bunch of guys at home wanted a horrible episode again. Yeah. Did you think it was going to be the giant rat episode?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I didn't want a horrible. What do they mean? They wanted a horrible.
They like the
awful,
the dog man ones and stuff like that, where they rip the kids apart. Well, here you go.
Strung
These
up
ones,
like Christmas lights. Yeah.
Yeah. This not strung up, but literally the one girl, they ate the eyes out and got into the skull that way because it's the easiest way to get into the brain case.
Yeah.
Another place that seems to have been beset with bloodthirsty giant rats in recent years is the densely populated areas of Peshawar, Pakistan.
Okay.
Where cat-sized rats have been reportedly commonly chewing from the sewers to prowl about raiding food sources and even attacking humans on the regular. According to some of these news sources, there have been between 5 and 8 children killed by these ravenous rats in recent years. Such is the case as the 8-month-old infant mauled to death by rats in Hisengora, an area in February of 2016. According to the child's father, Cora, I'm going to go with that's his name. A rat savaged by the boy's face and nose as he slept. In the case of the 3-month-old baby, allegedly died after his ears were completely bitten off by the giant rat and started chewing into his skull.
Yeah, this is awful.
In some cases, the child survived, but this has made the experiences no less harrowing. A 33-year-old Nora Corda woke up one evening to find his 8-month-old screaming as the rat attacked him in his bed. Although Cora managed to kill the rat and the child survived, he allegedly suffered numerous severe bites, marking his face forever.
Why are they always going for the face?
Because they know that's the fastest way to kill you.
Wow.
They get your eyes, they get your throat, and they get your nose. So the man claimed that he had followed the following evening, he put a slipper under the door. The rat had eaten half of it off. One resident said about the rats, they can be so big like cats. They're with 2 big, sharp teeth in the front. People are afraid. They say they are not normal rats. They will eat your food. They will eat your clothes, and they will eat you.
Yep. I knew that was coming.
So what do you think so far? So we got UK, Africa, and Pakistan have rats killing kids.
I mean, it's all awful. This is pretty bad.
Generally they're older people and infants, which are the society, part of society that can't fight back as easily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What do you think?
So, well, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, they're not eating or they're not going after
they are attacking the middle people.
But you're probably waking up and
people are kicking them and stuff like that.
Them that would be an awful way to go.
That's why you should have a guard emu.
Ooh, or
an emu would swallow that thing whole. You kick it one time, you'd hear just a big thunk like a football hit the side of a barn. It's that rat going flying through the air.
Emu, Muscovy emu hybrids.
There would be no people.
We should do it. We should try.
There would be no people.
Come on, we can force. We'll get you an emu. We'll force your Muscovy to, force breed. Can be done.
The presence of unusually large, aggressive giant rats has spawned all sorts of theories among locals, ranging from rational to bizarre. One of them is that there's some sort of exotic introduced species that have been flushed in their suburban layers by flooding in recent years. Others say that they are undiscovered giant rat species that result in genetic engineering from the U.S. military or even terrorists. Still other ideas point to some sort of new or mutated species. In the meantime, a bounty has been put on these, and we're going to talk about all of those at the end because there's quite a lot. Before I go on and talk about the bounty in Iran, we're going to take our ad break. You ready?
Yeah.
The ad breaks I had to do when you weren't here with this piece of equipment were bad, just so you know.
Did you have to make them up yourself?
No, but there's just big blank spots. You'll have to put something in.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, here we go.
And I'm here interviewing the great Bigfoot. And today, Bigfoot has prepared me a meal. Bigfoot, what did you make for us today? Ooh, fried porcupine on a stick, eh? Oh, grilled, sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, it's that. Ooh, this tastes absolutely delicious, Bigfoot. How did you create such a amazing dish? Oh, it's all in the seasoning, you say. Huh? Oh, so what's your secret ingredient? Oh, this right here. Flavors of the forest, Bigfoot breath. Raw garlic dust. Oh, this is raw, straight, freeze-dried garlic? No filler? Wow, this tastes amazing. Oh, you've got... Oh, I'll try that too. What's that you got? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'd never had deer heart, but let's give it a go. Oh, it's a little spicier. What's in this? Spicy raw garlic dust? Wow, also from Flavors of the Forest. Well, where can I find this? Oh, in the links below. So if you're looking to season up your meal today, why don't you go to the links below. Reach out to Flavors of the Forest at flavorsforest.com and get you a bottle of raw garlic dust or spicy raw garlic dust, also known as Bigfoot breath. Talk to you later.
so bad.
I love it. I just love it. So, in the meantime, a bounty has been put on these species to try to affect the rats and eradicate them as they spread. Oh, yeah. So, in Tehran, Iran, I think Tehran.
And I ran.
There has also been a wave of mutant rats reported up to 10 pounds in weight, which have been reportedly attacking dogs and cats and carrying them off in the area.
All right.
You imagine seeing your like junkyard dog getting grabbed and carried off by a rat.
Yeah.
But this is also the area, like Iran, Pakistan, all these areas are also, there's some weird cryptids out there. I really want to do a big episode on that. That may be a season finale. Because like that's where the military guy seen like a giant worm coming out of these rocks.
Yeah.
On thermal. And then he went over there with a flashlight and it's like literally like a giant caterpillar. And not only the giants, there's all kinds of culture. I mean, it's some of the oldest culture in the world that's still standing.
And it doesn't get too much reach like around the world as far as their stories and folklore and stuff.
Right. So I think that'd be a cool season finale one.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
The Middle East. The problem is apparently so bad that snipers armed with high-powered rifles and infrared scopes have been dispatched to deal with these monstrous rats. They have a rat regime to just kill rats in these areas.
That'd be a sweet job.
These have only been a sampling of these cases. There are actually many, many more disturbing reports from all over the world where it makes such dramatic cases. When looking at these stories, it's probably important to consider a amount of these are probably fake news that is floating around out there, or which some sort of harrowing encounters are easily picking up. After all, giant ferocious man-eating rats running amok is a topic that has certainly become, in the forefront of a lot of newspapers and stuff like that. With the internet, such of these stories get passed around and exaggerated until they become taken as face value when they lie between reality and fiction, becoming rather blurred. It has already happened to quite a few occasions with the theme of giant rats. For instance, there's a large number of fake photos of a giant rat making their rounds on the internet, such as the infamous New York rat picture that was circulating heavily via Facebook in January of 2016 that went viral. While the rat photo was probably technically real, it's been misrepresented, made it look much larger due to forced perspective, and was probably not captured in New York at all, but rather most likely a giant Gambian pouched rat. We talked about pouch rats in Africa and stuff like that.
South Africa, yep.
Yeah, they get big.
Big boys, yeah.
And they're normally not hyper aggressive, but they're very large.
You seen that video in New York of the rat pulling that piece of pizza up that flight of stairs?
Yeah, or did you see the rat getting grabbed by another rat?
I know.
There's a video. We'll talk about New York.
Okay.
We're going to talk about New York for a bit. I left extra time at the end of this episode just for us to talk. But yeah, so which they can get up to 3 foot long and weigh 4 pounds. Mm-hmm. They're not found in New York sewer systems, though. The Gambian pouched rat.
Right.
Another picture allegedly taken in New York sewer worker supposedly shows a 45-pound monster rat that is entirely fake. The picture of a 4 foot long rat taken at the gas engineer in England has also been accused of being a hoax. So we talked about that one earlier.
Right.
Yeah. The New York giant rat photo, I'll show you. It's pretty fake. At least they're saying it's 45 pounds and 4 foot long.
No, I don't think so, but
as in fake, that's probably a real. I think it's a photoshopped rat because even the way he's holding it doesn't look like he's holding it.
Holding it weird, but I think that's that forced perspective they're talking about because it's like when you catch a fish and you take a picture of someone holding their fish, they gotta extend their arms straight out to the camera, hold the fish that way. It looks twice as big as it actually is, and you can tell everyone it was an 8 foot long, largemouth bass.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times people have tried. So let's talk about New York. Just the videos, the sheer videos in New York.
There's a lot
of just rats.
Yeah.
Because they had, right now, New York has the rat czar.
The rat czar?
Yeah, it's the person that was elected to be the leader of getting rid of all the rats in New York.
Oh, so it's not like the pigeon lady from Home Alone 2?
No, it's the person. The rat czar is not good for the rats.
Gotcha. That's what I imagine. Like the rat czar. It's like a man in New York covered in rat furs, that just
No, I think
controls them all.
it's a lady one.
Oh, ladies are.
But the big problem with New York and a lot of these major cities is first off the amount of habitat for these rats.
Yeah.
I mean, just trash everywhere and food, food availability. I was watching this one thing with New York. Like New York, even in really clean restaurants, they have rats.
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay was talking about it, stuff like that. And there's very few restaurants that don't have rats. And he was talking about how he did it in one of his restaurants is basically you have to make an iron shell inside this restaurant.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And he's like, we did it. You can see where like it's basically like the whole restaurant is a refrigerator.
Yeah,
like it's like a sheet metal box.
Yep.
And he's like, very few restaurants in New York do that because of how expensive it is. But it's the only way in this city to get rid of rats because they'll come walk in with people.
They'll come in any way they can, and unless it's like steel or iron, he said, anything like that, they're going to chew right through it. I don't care what it is. They'll find their way through.
And rats can fit anywhere their head can fit.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what other New York rats have you seen? What's this pizza one going up the stairs?
You ever seen that?
No.
Oh, it's like just some guy. It's either New York or it's Chicago, but I think it was New York. It was like someone's flight of steps, going up to their apartment. And it's just one rat, and it has this one giant piece of pizza, and he's just biting it by the crust, and he's literally hopping up the step and pulling the pizza up with him. Like this, it's big though. It's not like a tiny little piece of pizza. Like it's a full-on triangle slice of pizza. He's dragging the whole thing up. It's bigger than the whole rat himself. The rat itself ain't that big, but it's just pulling it up the stairs like just everyday normal thing. It's gross though. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And then, so the one I was talking about was like there was a dead rat that was like halfway out from a dumpster.
Uh-huh.
And it was already like a couple pound rat. It was this massive rat. And a gigantic rat that I thought was a cat in the video runs up and grabs it and rips it into a hole.
Jeez.
And I think it may be fake. It's hard to tell anymore.
Anymore, yeah.
It's like with people sending us Bigfoot videos and stuff. I love seeing them. I can't tell you if it's real or fake anymore. There's no point because the way like Unreal Engine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With these video editing softwares.
The AI videos too. It's hard to determine.
It's impossible. It's just I can't give a determinant whether it's a real or not video. I can give a guess.
Sometimes you get a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And then you maybe see some signs like weird video editing, like just weird stuff. Like, well, maybe not this show. We can't talk about that, but maybe our friends can talk about it in another episode of people being on camera and you think they're one place, but then there's anomalies of like the railing going through their leg or something. Their leg clipping through a handrail, which is physically impossible, but yet it happens. So what's real anymore?
So, like I said, a lot of originally, cats were used to keep rats away.
Yeah. Rats
are now eating cats, specifically kittens. Rats are incredibly intelligent and smart and resilient animals, which we'll talk about. How their brains are wired a completely different way than most other animals.
What if rats replace the cats?
Well, they are taking their niche also because they're eating everything else.
Now the cats will start shrinking and they'll be the new rats.
But rats are smart enough to target kittens because they know they grow into cats.
Right, yeah.
So a lot of these areas, cats have completely disappeared. For example, Chicago. I'll tell you my Chicago stories here in a minute, but a lot of the areas where we had these big problems with rats when we were trying to sample, no cats. They've completely wiped the cats out.
That makes sense.
No mice either. You don't find mice and rats in the same spot. Like, we kind of got excited when you found mice. You're like, okay, there's no rats.
Yeah. And very rarely are you excited for mice.
They're a heck of a lot better than rats.
I guess.
A mouse bites you? Oh, well, okay. A big mouse bites you? Oh, well.
Yeah.
A rat swimming at you across the river to bite you?
Yeah. Do rats reproduce as fast as mice?
Yes. Okay. Not quite as fast. They have a little bit longer. But, I mean, yes. Rodents hyper reproduce.
Right. I knew in general rodents did, but I just didn't know. Because mice, it's insane. Like, how quickly.
I think they can have great-grandchildren in the same year. I think it's great-grandchildren.
Jeez. Yeah, that's insane.
So one pair of mice can produce, I think, like 300 or 400 mice by the end of the year through their kids and their kids' kids and stuff.
Exponential growth.
Mm-hmm. So, what's happening? Rats have a long history of killing infants, Lady and the Tramp, like we've already talked about. Mm-hmm. This is a big problem in human history, and this is probably why humans have such an aversion of them, because this was happening before disease vectors were such a big deal.
Uh-huh.
Keep in mind the plagues, where they I think the 14s, 15s, and 1600s, because the Black Plague was like 3 different times.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. It didn't happen in like a couple years.
Oh, it didn't? It wasn't like a summer?
No.
Huh.
It was 3 different plagues that were most likely all the same disease. They may not have been. There's a lot of research into that there may have been 2 or 3 different diseases
going around.
And the Black Plague itself, which is a disease, may have only been one of them. And everybody got lumped in. But who knows at that point? But no, the Black Plague happened 3 different times. And because a whole population would die, so nobody could leave to spread the disease until people came back into an area.
And then they caught it again and died again.
So rats are incredibly smart and resistant. Let's talk about rats' brains for a second. Do you know when a rat goes into an area? So they walk along walls. So if you're putting your rat traps or mice traps, you have to put it against a wall. Rats rarely leave the walls.
Right, yep.
They always have their whiskers touching one wall. Rats, when they come into an area, almost always have 3 different escape plans in their head at all times. They have a part of their brain that's specifically dedicated to getting away.
Yeah.
So you see, they're incredibly smart. They walk along these walls. So these researchers were testing, and they would block off the 3, and then the rat would freeze. If you could block off all 3 of their paths, they'd have plan, they'd freeze.
So it didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'd get nasty. That's when they'd fight.
Okay.
What do you know of rats?
I always just thought they were big mice on steroids. It's just what I...
Very different animals.
Yeah.
Rats are incredibly good swimmers. They can hold their breath for extended periods of time. That's how they can swim up toilets and stuff like New York and Chicago and stuff like that. They would get into your toilet. Keep in mind, that's water for a long time.
Yeah.
So they would hold their breath the whole time and squeeze through these pipes to get in.
Oh, my gosh. That's like a fear of mine, too. Or it used to be as a kid. It's either a snake or a rat.
People are scared of snakes. I'm scared of mice and rats because you know what? There's so many more diseases you can get. There's very, very few diseases you get from a reptile.
Yeah, but just a snake rearing up and biting your butt when you're, dropping the kids off at the pool.
Or a rat? You think a rat would be much worse.
A rat would be
Snake
more...
have small, pointy teeth.
Yeah, but see, the snake would be like
Rat
quiet.
removes.
It would be like, it would sneak up quiet. You wouldn't
You don't hear
it.
rats often.
Oh, you would hear it if it's swimming up to
You
grab
should
some
watch.
air.
No, you should watch these videos.
Wait,
They sneak in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you're in a tube for long enough, holding your breath,
a
by the
lot of
time you
times-
reach air, you're like,
No, a lot of times they come in and they lay right against the bowl and they'll wait there because they want to make sure they'll wait for the lights to go off in the bathroom
oh my gosh.
and then they'll hop out of the lid.
Oh, that's gross.
They're super smart.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So we're going to talk about what's happening with these giant rats.
All right.
Do you want me to tell you my stories first or after?
Oh, no, tell them first.
Okay. So a couple stories from Chicago with giant rats. And I've never seen, I'll tell you my biggest rat I've ever seen. We were at a place called the Family Restaurant. If anybody's in Chicago, I believe that's near Bolingbrook. It's good. It's good food. Good family restaurant. It's literally called the Family Restaurant. Weird. Okay, it's a Mexican family owns it, and they're great. In the morning, it's a pancake house ran by a bunch of old white ladies. In the evening, it's an Italian restaurant ran by a Mexican family.
Nice.
Great food.
Yeah.
Always great food. Great people. I loved it. But it was just always weird because it was like, it looked like a Mexican restaurant, no Mexican food.
It's like that one place that used to be open in Bluffton that was the Italian Chinese restaurant.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, where the old KFC was.
Oh, well, see, so there was
Didn't last long.
just Mexican family owned it, ran it, and there was no Mexican food. But the
Italian.
walls were decorated like Mexican food and stuff, like a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, but it's Italian food.
Yeah, I guess the partners, because it would close for the afternoon.
Yeah.
So it was a breakfast, literally it was a breakfast place, like a pancake house.
Yeah.
Ran by this old white lady that was like a partner with this Mexican family. And it was like an old diner, and then it was an Italian restaurant.
That's a good way to do it, though.
It was great food. We ate there constantly. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
So one night we're leaving, and we're walking through the parking lot, and I used to trap muskrats. I'm not scared of muskrats. I've picked up a bunch of muskrats and stuff like that. Muskrats get pretty big. That's an aquatic rodent related to like nutria and beaver and stuff like that. So I'm walking, and there's probably a 3 or 4 pound muskrat, one of the biggest muskrats I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I trapped him for a long time for fur. And I don't know. I'm being stupid. I run over there. I'm going to pick it up. And because I'm like, oh gosh, that's a humongous.
The cage or the...
No, I'm just going to grab it.
Okay.
It's just a rat. It's a muskrat just walking in the parking lot.
Oh, gotcha. So you didn't trap it. You just seen
So I was
it.
going to run over and catch it with my hand.
Mm-hmm.
As I run over, get close to it, it turns and rears up. It's a rat.
It's not a muskrat.
It's not a muskrat.
Yeah.
I swear, this rat's probably 3 or 4 pounds.
What'd you do?
I turned around. It started charging me.
Did you kick it?
No.
Oh.
I was running because it was charging at me full bore.
I would have just punted it.
See, muskrats run. I wasn't
Run away.
expecting.
Yeah.
It was different when you have a different animal.
Your flight or flight kicked in, yeah, and you flighted.
Yeah. And it chased me almost all the way back to the truck.
Man.
So we were in the water. So the sewer outfalls sometimes were so scary
Why?
with rats.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And we were near this one sewer outfall. And I once again thought it was a muskrat swimming at us. And it was a rat. coming to bite us.
Yeah.
Because we got too close to the sewer outfall.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the middle, 3 men, 3 adult
Is that when you
humans.
shocked it?
Yeah.
What'd it do?
Just it turned back around.
It just
It,
didn't.
turned
kill it?
No.
Okay.
It wouldn't kill it.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't kill it. We weren't using something that big.
I just imagine like.
But it came swimming across a moving river
Yeah,
to come bite us.
Yeah.
You know how much hate you have to have in your heart?
Yeah. Yep.
To-
Rats have them.
They have it.
You should have carried. See, you should have carried a bat. Called it your rat bat.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about possible explanations for what's happening in these cities and countries. Cities are selectively breeding giant aggressive rats. And by this, I mean, like we just talked about earlier, that these rats are being almost selectively bred by human pressures put on
Right.
them. We're killing the non-poison resistant rats.
Mm-hmm.
The poison resistant rats are getting more food, more resources, more space, getting larger. Those larger ones go to breed, and they're producing larger and larger
Yep.
rats. And like we already talked about, they produce many generations in a year, so they can adapt and get larger very quickly. We're selectively breeding bigger, meaner rats
Right, yeah.
in our cities. What do you think about that one?
100%. 100% believe that.
I think that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
I think I got a mixed list for you.
Yeah.
I think it could be a lot of these things.
Like portion a little bit of each
Yeah.
one of them, but
Depends
this
where
one,
you're at.
I just feel like this one definitely is playing a big factor.
I've never seen like a 2-foot long rat in Chicago. So all the rats I've seen were like fat, right? They're chunky. If anybody's ever seen a muskrat, they're pretty chunky.
Yeah, they're round. Yeah.
So I never seen a long rat like these. They're saying in the UK and stuff like that. But they're mean. They're freaking nasty.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one on this list is people are seeing muskrats. Now, muskrats can be kind of mean, kind of not. You know, they'll turn and bite you, but you really got to kind of pick on them.
But they don't really look. I mean,
Up
I guess
close,
if you
they don't look like a rat.
No, but even further, I guess far away. But if you don't know, I mean,
They look like a city rat from
Yeah.
far away. If you don't see their head is much more like a beaver.
Yeah,
That big,
they're-
tall, wide, flat
Yep.
face.
Yep.
But their body, you know, it looks like a big wet rat from farther away.
Yeah, I can see that and they're aquatic, so they like being in the water. So when they come out,
I've seen them in the sewer systems in Chicago and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, they're there.
I remember the first time I seen a muskrat, I was up in Canada and I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is this thing? I thought it was like a little beaver at first, then I got closer and it was swimming. Had the big long rat tail, but yeah, it looked like a little football, a furry football with a rat tail swimming. And they were pretty smooth swimmers too. But he was our friend. He hung out in front of our little cabin.
I've had them pop up ice fishing.
Oh
Through
yeah,
the hole. It scares. They're fine. Scares the ever loving life out of you. Because they go, "Bah," you know, and they make a big noise and stuff. I've had mink do it too. Mink are really quiet and secretive.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
smart about it. They'll come in and be like,
See what's
Go
going
right
on.
back down.
Yeah.
all right. The next one is Nutri-Rats.
Okay.
Do you know what a Nutri-Rat is?
I'm guessing a rat on Nutrafil, the diet.
A rat on steroids.
Okay, yeah, same difference.
They get massive. They get dog size. They're one of the larger
like
rodents on the planet.
Literally on steroids.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just a
big
species from
stuff.
South America.
Oh, just big species of rat. Gotcha.
Yeah, they're highly invasive here in the U.S. We're going to talk more about them. I'm going to read both my last two, and then we're going to go over them. My last one is giant extinct rat species that maybe not be extinct. They may have been close to the verge, and then they took hold in cities.
Now they're breeding with these new super rats.
Now they are the super rats.
Yeah.
The people are, they're eating all the other rats.
That's how they're. Yeah, I get it.
So let's talk about Nutra, the invasive, unusually large rodent. Nutra, also known as Koopa or swamp rats, are large rodents that wreak havoc on non-native ecosystems. They kind of look like halfway between a traditional rat and a beaver, kind of like a muskrat, but they're absolutely massive. Nutra are resilient South American mammals that can thrive in non-native North American habitats. Over the last 70 years, they've often been an expense to local ecosystems. So the department sometimes being called swamp rats, the Nutra are not true rats. These mammals are native to South America, where they've been introduced to the United States between 1899 and 1930 for the fur industry. Nutra are now considered a nuisance in the U.S. and other parts of the world where their populations have grown and their presence has been disrupted to the natural ecosystem. So they can get, anywhere around 17 to 25 inches long without their tail.
It's big.
And that's head, like I said, head to rump. So they get over 2 foot long without their tail. Very similar to a large raccoon in size. Their tails add another, 2 foot to that. So there's your 4 foot long rats.
Yep.
And these animals can commonly weigh between 15 and 20 pounds. Once again, comparable to a large raccoon. They have been seen all the way up to 40 pounds. They are considered, they're kind of smaller than giant beavers, but they look like giant rats. They have 2 large orange front fangs or front teeth that a lot of people describe in seeing these giant rats. What do you think so far?
Well, you said something about them not being true rats. What's that mean?
They're a different species, like a different family
rodent?
group. They're still rodents. Yeah, they're definitely still rodents. They're just from like the capybaras and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
Nutria breed year-round and can have 3 litters a year with between 2 and 13 offspring per litter, allowing their populations to radically explode. These mammals become sexually mature at around 4 months. So the first litter of the year can often reproduce in that same year.
Yep. That's crazy.
Again, not 1 or 2 days after giving birth, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the females can be ready to be breed again. After a gestation period of about 4 months, nutria pups will nurse for about 7 to 8 weeks while the mother, is still pregnant in the den for about 10 weeks. The pups can also survive on their own as young as 5 days old, so the mom can kick them out. It's estimated that 80% of nutria don't survive their first year, but they make up for this by having tons of them. Nutria rats have a voracious appetite of wetland plants, and they will chow down on the entire plant's roots, bark, all of it. According to the Animal Diversity Web, these furry rodents will occasionally eat small invertebrates, insects, snails, and maybe fish. We're still looking into how much meat they actually take in their diet. But nutrias aren't considered picky eaters. They often are caught eating crops such as rice, sugarcane, corn. They will scavenge on remains of dead animals. They will eat pretty much anything, it seems.
Rodent behavior.
They have their favorites, but they definitely like plants. So these guys are becoming a big problem in the U.S.
Okay.
Louisiana, the southern states are having a problem with them. Michigan had a little bit of a problem with them. So there's some new evidence suggesting that these guys can survive cold weather.
Okay.
They're highly adaptable. There's been a couple sightings of them actually in the New York sewer system outflows. Oh. So the thought is they may be living in the New York sewer system, staying warm during the winters because it stays about 80 degrees in there due to decomposure.
Ugh.
It's not great, but that's the same thing they think why alligators could survive in the New York sewer tunnels and stuff like that because it stays warm enough through the winter to get them there.
Have you ever seen the vents or the smoke, steam, whatever that comes out of the vents in New York?
I mean, I've worked around sewer systems a lot.
Yeah, it's just
I've watched steam pour out of them in the morning.
It's disgusting too. It smells awful.
So these rats are incredibly destructive. They can eat about 25% of their body weight every day, and they don't really care where those calories come from. So that's one option that I think could be some of the supersized rats people are seeing. I don't think these are the ones killing kids and breaking into houses or nothing like that. But I do think some of the 4-foot rats people are seeing.
Witnessing, yeah.
They may be nutria.
I could see that.
And wallabies, exist in the UK, so why can't a nutria?
Right. I mean, if we can bring them here, they'll be able to take hold or take foot.
So East Timor had 7 species of giant rat that were recently discovered by a team of archaeologists. Each rat was about the size of a small dog. So 7 different species of giant rat. They just went extinct. Where was it? I had it. 30,000 years ago.
That's relatively...
It's nothing for paleontology. They coexist with humans. They seem to be one of the species that directly followed humans around the planet. We're not really sure why they went extinct. The thought is maybe they went into seclusion, and now we're seeing them come back again.
Okay.
So they could still be there. So, yeah, I think all of these could explain these rats. My personal thought is the first one is probably the most accurate, we've selectively bred gigantic, hyper-aggressive rats. The killing infants and kids and stuff has always been a trait of rats since day one.
Right.
And we had a period of time where we didn't have it happening, and I think our generation kind of forgot about it. Because now
species with amnesia.
Well, we're the generation with rats as pets, right?
Right.
That really didn't happen before. A little bit.
I'm sure there was some eccentric man.
Yeah, no, they happened, but not like this. Where you go to the pet store and it's a commonly sold animal for a pet.
Not the man living out in the corner that's, living under a piece of rubble.
And what do you think about giant rats from around the world?
As an entirety, on the whole, I think they're frightening. Obviously, wait, what was it? Rodents of unusual size.
Yeah,
they're frightening. I mean, and they're just gross. And I wonder, it's just something in our psyche that's just, I don't know. I feel when you see these things in the wild, and excluding pet rats, excluding the ones that are relatively docile and not trained, but ones that are used to being around humans. I'm talking about the wild ones, the ones that swam across the river to try to bite you in the sewer systems. There's something about them all that's just off-putting and gross. And I don't know, I rats and mice alone too. I mean, they kind of follow you where
they're a part of humans, right? But I guess it's something I didn't really go into is why we have such disdain for them. Is we talked about genetic fears before.
Yeah.
Well, there's genetic repellents too. Like dead bodies.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like humans are either upset or disgusted by dead bodies,
and they smell like way worse.
It's a pre-programmed thing.
Yeah.
To keep us away from stuff that can make us sick.
Right. Exactly.
Rats are one of them. Cockroaches, bugs.
Ugh, rats.
Rats are probably the worst one. But they're incredibly smart, resilient, adaptable animals, and that's why they're such a problem.
Well, like I said, I live out in the country, very rural, cornfields and cornfields. But we used to have a bunch of cats, and we had all the cats. We had no mice problem. And then our cats slowly just started, they were all outdoors, but then they slowly just started going away, one by one. Maybe a dog would get one of them every now and then, or all of them. Dogs end up getting all of them. They didn't like cats. Just didn't like them. They would tolerate them for a while, and then if just one thing they did wrong or just set them off, boop, they just go snatch them up and shake them. No more cat. But ever since then, the mice, no, I haven't seen a rat, but the mice have been back. And trapping them is kind of fun, but they're smart. They're so smart. Like, you get one in one spot, okay, reset the trap. That trap will never get set off again.
Mm-hmm. They'll do that.
You got to move it around. You got to funnel them into certain areas and trick them, and then you can catch them again. But then once they're onto the traps, they know what the traps look like. You ain't gonna catch them anymore until you get a new family or something that moves in. But luckily, we've been mouse free for a while now, so it's just tough being out in the country, especially
that Mike hit was me.
Huh?
That Mike hit was me.
They're all you.
They're not.
Once everyone realizes,
I think
all you, always.
Because that's probably the only one this episode because you've had to sit in a chair straight up and talk.
I'm going nuts doing it.
You've had to sit appropriately for this.
It's an awful posture.
So I'm going with genetically modified rats due to humans.
Yeah, I think we are creating.
I guess I didn't really cover the terrorist or the U.S. government releasing them. That was the one in Pakistan. They blamed the U.S. government for that one.
That I could believe.
I could believe it, but to me, it's happening everywhere else too.
Yeah. So we're doing it everywhere.
I don't think it's that. But if it was just say it was just Pakistan that was happening in, I would be inclined to believe that. To me, it's happening literally everywhere.
I still wouldn't rule it out though if it were to happen.
They have bomb rats, right?
What's that mean?
They have bomb sniffing rats.
Oh yeah,
U.S. government. Mm-hmm. Because they're smart. They're not having to set them off.
Right.
They're smart enough to go find them, and they'll go stand right on top of them.
Yep. Smart.
And they had pigeons were the first nukes.
Pigeons, man.
They were the guidance control inside the warhead.
Oh, they're the ones. Yeah.
They were trained to peck on to keep the missile on. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just insane.
All right. I've been the great and powerful Mr. E.
And I've been Jay. Clone something.
We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to Cryptids the Corn podcast. Remember, the best way to support the show is share it with a friend. But if you are craving more of the J clones
and more from Mr. E,
there's always extra content on Patreon
and our paid member space on cryptidsofthecorn.com.
We'll catch you next time with more exciting, fun, and informative information. Bye.